Hi, I'm your host Vasco Duarte. Welcome to the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast, where we share tips and tricks from Scrum Masters around the world. Every day, we bring you inspiring answers to important questions that all Scrum Masters face day after day. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our Thursday, Success Thursday, here on the podcast. And this week we have with us Pascal Clarkson. Hi, Pascal. Welcome back.
Hi. Thank you. Welcome.
Absolutely. Welcome, everybody. And Pascal, let's start with something that I would say is probably one of the most important tools we have in our success toolbox, right? The retrospective. So share with us, what's your favorite retrospective format and why?
Right. So one of the things that I found is just to have a really good talk. And I know, it really doesn't matter what kind of format you use. Just have the good talk and ask the questions that need to be asked is really important, because I do believe that some of the Scrum Masters out there are really fixated on the format, and they just run the format as it's like prepared. But whenever a curveball is being thrown during the retrospective, it's like, okay, so how are you going to handle that?
Can you give us an example of a curveball, for example?
And a very easy example is like when you have prepared to do a certain sequence of questions, and you're kind of you're hoping for a certain response and you're not getting it. So you're asking like, okay, so how can we improve da 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 da? And you get like questions like, oh yeah, but we don't need to improve that. That's all fine, or something like that. And your whole format kind of falls down because you're not getting improvement points. You're not getting that information that you need to really get going. And then it's like, okay, so now what?
And what's your tip? How do you transform that into something positive?
So one of the most important things is to me is to, at that point, like just state what's going on, what you're noticing. So give back to the group. Okay, so this is what I'm noticing. I had this idea of doing it this way. I'm not getting the information to continue on that path. And having said that, what would you guys like to have happen right now? So what direction do you as a team want to be going in? And that's when you can have that open and honest conversation about, okay, what is it that you actually need? Because apparently either you made an assumption as a Scrum Master to go a certain way, or kind of interpreted certain things differently than the team is doing. So you need to be talking about that. You need to be opening up and saying like, okay, where do we want to go from here? What is it that you guys need now?
That's a great point. I would say that that's one important part. The second part that kind of, it's the twin aspect of this, is to know that whatever we think is going on might be wrong. And not only, where would you like to take this, but actually share the gap that you just experienced with the team. Hey, I thought our biggest problem was the build system. But now I hear you talking about how to work with the design team. That was unexpected. What do you think? Yeah. Because somebody in the team might agree with you, or they might not. You don't know. But I think that what you said, like, open it up for an honest discussion, I think that's key. But also be open to share the contrast, right? Do it's almost like the mirror thing, where we mirror to the team the behavior, but rather the mirror from a stakeholder perspective, because we are stakeholders in the relationship with the team, right? And you say, okay, so I hear this from our quality manager, like build system is not working properly, unit tests fail every now and then, but then you're telling me that there's no problem, that the problem is indeed to work with the design team instead. I'm surprised. Right. Yeah. So what do you think about that?
Oh yeah, for sure. And also giving the examples of what or the evidence, or how you want to call it. Like, this is what I'm seeing that's happening, and this is where I based all my thoughts on. because even that interpretation of what you've been seeing or hearing that's happening might be wrong or might be different for different people. So doing that will also give you more information on how people are thinking and where they stand. Definitely, yeah.
That information that you just referred to is the most important nugget of gold in our work as a Scrum Master, right? Because that's what we do all the time. We kind of try to figure out what's going on, and sometimes we can, perhaps most often we can, but sometimes we can't. And it's because we're missing something, right? Like, I think I love what you just said, right? So take every surprise as a gift and build it into something that can help the team go forward. So I think I really like that. All right, so now we turn our attention to what we want to achieve with these retrospectives, which is helping teams succeed, helping ourselves succeed as Scrum Masters. So Pascal, share with us, what's your definition of success for Scrum Masters?
Oh, I really find that very difficult, because I think, well, no, I'm thinking about this the wrong way. It's not difficult. It's actually very easy. See how easy that can change. The thing I was thinking, like, okay, so there can be really a lot of things that you can attribute to success. But in the end, I really think it's just that one thing. We're successful when we make the team successful at being more agile, at being confident with comfortable with change, and being confident in what they do. And I really think that if we instill this kind of attitude within people, where they set goals and say, like, okay, this is what we want to have happen, because it will impact our work or our company or our clients, our customers in such a way, and to really build in that feedback loop, like, what we're doing, is that really achieving those things? I think that's the most important thing to do as a Scrum Master. That feedback loop is so precious, and I think it's at the heart of being really truly agile. If you don't have that feedback loop in place, if you don't use it on a day-to-day basis, if you don't think about, how do I know when I'm successful? How can you measure it? How can you make sure that you get there? And how do you make sure that you can adjust your course while you're walking towards that end goal? If you're not doing that, then I believe you actually achieve the opposite of success. You're failing as a Scrum Master.
Absolutely. So I want to dive a little bit deeper into that, though, because I think that's very important for us to learn to recognize the signs that we are actually progressing towards the success of the team, right? So how do you keep yourself accountable, Pascal? How do you check if you're really progressing, if the team is progressing, as you said?
Right. So one of the ways is literally asking the question. So are we we have changed certain things, or we have adapted our program or our work way of working in a certain way. Do we actually go back and check, have we achieved the thing that we set out to do with this change? Therefore, it's really important to, when you have a retrospective or a moment or a reflection, to really check, like, okay, so if we're going to change our course or the way of working towards this side, to the left, what will it give us? So really think about, what are the results we're getting, kind of like the OKRs as well, getting the key results clear, making sure that we can measure them, and going back each time and check, did we make it? Did we actually do what we set out to do? And really be honest with each other, and holding each other accountable. Like, okay, so if we set out to do this and that, what are our measurement points? Are we actually able to measure it? And I've seen a lot of times where whenever we say measurements or metrics within Agile or Scrum way of working, that people like are, oh no, velocity, this and that, or whatever. You know,
I like how you said that.
Yeah, I know, but it happens a lot. A lot of people are like, no, that's not part of Scrum. But I think it's part of life. It's part of change. We need to be addressing that as well, and we need to be, as a Scrum Master, teaching people like, okay, the only way to know that you're successful is if you're able to define the success criteria, to define like, okay, what is it that we need to be doing repeatedly, or what are the steps that we need to be doing to get there, and to really hold each other accountable and say like, okay, so did we do enough here? Did we get it clear enough? Is it really helping us? And that's the feedback loop and metrics.
I think the accountable is very important, and you called it the feedback loop. I think that's great. But helping the team be accountable to themselves, right? Because no one else can tell them what to do every day. Like no manager, not you, not the product owner. The team needs to tell itself what to do every day. Like once in a while, of course, they can get corrective feedback elsewhere, but every day, every single day, the team needs to be looking at how they are performing and improving. And very often we talk about this aspect of ownership, right? We want to help the teams own how they work and their process. And you know, the twin sister of ownership is accountability and self-accountability at that, right? So they work together, and sometimes we need to start building that muscle as Scrum Masters. We need to help build the muscle of self-accountability, and then step back and let them be accountable to themselves, of course. But I really love that you mentioned that word, because I very often feel that we miss that part. Like we talk about Scrum Master as helping the team, but sometimes in order to help, you have to really show the mirror and say, guys, you know, you said you wanted this, but we're not getting there.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, now I'm thinking of one of those liberating structures. What one was it? Where you kind of hold up the mirror, where you first make the list, like, hey, what do you need to do to make this not go as planned, or not to be successful at this, and then really asking them, okay, so of this whole list, what is it that is that you're in some way are actually doing, and really having that conversation at that point.
That's a great retrospective to run, by the way, right? It's like tell or share the things that we could do to make sure this fails. Yeah. And then looking at that list and saying, which of these are we already doing?
Yeah, definitely.
That's a great. I'll put the link to that liberating structure in the show notes so that people can find it.
Awesome. Yeah.
Thank you very much for sharing, Pascal.
Yeah, much obliged.
Part of a successful Scrum Master job is to help the product owner. Tomorrow we explore that critical role in Scrum, the product owner role. Tune in to learn about product owner anti-patterns, what you can do to help the product owner, and a real-life example of what a great product owner is and what made it so. Tomorrow on our Friday Product Owner episode. See you tomorrow. We really hope you liked our show. And if you did, why not rate this podcast on Stitcher or iTunes? Share this podcast and let other Scrum Masters know about this valuable resource for their work. Remember that sharing is caring.